We're live.
Good afternoon. It is the 4th of April, 2022. We're here for a voting session in the House Judiciary Committee. Have a number of bills that we're going to be addressing here today, and the first two are going to be House Bill 561 and Senate Bill 17. This has to do with training for judges related to child custody cases. It's been an extensive conversation both inside the committee and outside the committee regarding these bills. I believe that we have come to an agreement, and there are amendments in your packet related. We'll start with 561, and they are the amendments numbered 673-523. That's 673-523. It makes a number of changes to, and I'll let Lauren correct me if I'm wrong here a little bit, but it does set out what training is being offered. It does require that the Maryland Judiciary shall develop and update as possible a training program for judges and magistrates over child custody cases involving child abuse or domestic violence. It does say that they should be, that the course should be 20 hours of initial training provided by the Maryland Judiciary that a judge has to receive within their first year of presiding over child custody cases. However, at least my concern had been the issues related to our prescribing dockets has been an issue, and also the issues related to referrals to judicial accountability, or my brain just stopped, to judicial disabilities that I think we're kind of beyond the constitutional scope of what we can do. Lauren, am I missing anything?
That's it. The other, just a tiny thing, is that the Senate added a couple of definitions that we would add to the House bill, the definitions of child abuse and domestic violence, but that's not really substantive.
Right. So we have that.
Favorable on the amendment.
So there's a motion and a favorable and a second on the amendments. This is to House Bill 561, then we'll do the Senate bill. Are there any questions about the amendments? Seeing none, all in favor of the amendments, please raise your hands. Delegates Moon, Lopez, Davis, Arakan, Bartlett, Cox, Crutchfield, Shetty, Munoz, Tolles, Williams, Cham, Anderson, Shoemaker, Fisher, and McComas. Anybody opposed? Seeing none. All right. The amendments are adopted, and now we're on the bill.
Move favorable.
There's a motion for a favorable. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Now we'll take discussion on the bill as amended, House Bill 561. Delegate Tolles to begin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question. It looked like from the amendments that it will no longer be required every 2 years. It's just you kind of take the 20 hours and that's it.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Delegate McComas, then Bartlett, then Cox.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just going to suggest, and maybe that's next year's bill, but on my bill, use training for mandatory reporters. I had to come up with a new resource, which I amended the Senate bill, which went over to the Senate. And there's a CHAM group, which is these are the experts that train the doctors and the mandatory reporters, and they keep up with all the latest research. And I was just going to suggest that maybe from time to time before they offer the course, because it'll change, they can at least consult with them. But, if they're going to basically, because these guys, it's the doctors that do it and study it and then train the mandatory reporters that are on the front line. So anyway, just was going to suggest that, but maybe that's for another bill, but just
that might be for another bill. It might be next year's bill at this point.
Okay. All right.
But I appreciate it.
It makes it more perfect, but whatever.
We're all waiting for the perfect bill. Delegate Bartlett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Quick question, I don't have any problem with the bill. I just wanted to make sure I understood. I see that we took out, and maybe this was done previously, the lethality assessments on page 2.
Yeah.
Is that because, well, why? Actually, it is part of the amendment. Yeah. Why did that get taken out?
So the section there it deals with the process for investigating a report of suspected child abuse. And I think that they took that out along with litigation abuse. I'm trying to remember the lethality assessment piece of this. I know the litigation abuse was perceived by some as to be, I guess it's fair to say, biased in one way, or, that the training is not meant to be saying that this is based on, people could be acting based on an interest in abusing the justice system. The other part of that is it's in section 6 that talks about the dynamics and effects of domestic violence, including coercive control. I think when you put lethality assessments in that context, you're looking really at the effects of domestic violence, including the coercive control that occurs within domestic violence. A lethality assessment is something that is done outside of that, is done to determine whether somebody is at risk for being injured or killed. And so it doesn't really fit in that part of the training, and so that's why that was stricken there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Cox.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First question is the judiciary approving this bill now? To your knowledge?
I believe that we've reached a point where everyone is slightly disappointed, so we might have the best possible bill that we could possibly get.
Oh,
And Delegate Fisher is coming in after. She's raising her hand. I don't know if she can answer the question related to judiciary, but my understanding is, they believe it is better. It's better than as it came in. And so as far as I'm concerned, there was an agreement that these amendments address and address the sum and substance of the agreement. So at this point, this is the bill.
So, and I understand the implicit bias training is still mandated in the bill. Has that been taken out? As well as looking at the
training program shall include training on the potential impacts of explicit and implicit bias. Yes, that's in C8. Yes.
Yeah.
Still in the bill.
Okay. And then the section there on parental alienation, is all the alienation stuff still in the bill? I'm sorry to ask these pieces.
No, you're fine. No. That's why we're here.
Chair,
No, the parental alienation is not in the bill, but the parental alienation, I think, was taken out by the Senate. That was taken out by the Senate, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
that's correct.
Yeah, that was already removed.
Okay.
Okay, so let me do this. Yes, if you're looking at the House bill, it's still
Right.
in the House bill. So the amendments will strike it from the House bill just as it was stricken in the Senate bill that came across. So just to be clear, the agreement, the reason that I put it that way is we worked off of the Senate bill because that's what came over. So yes, it is no longer in the bill.
Well, I just, I don't know if this is a good time to comment and explain my vote, or I should wait.
You can explain your vote if you'd like. I mean, it's up to you, or you can
Debate on
address the bill right now. It's up to you.
It's debate now. So I just want to quickly say that I've been lobbied intensively by our good friend, the Secretary of State. I think he's got an excellent focus and heart for this, and I think everyone involved does as well. I think Delegate Fisher's spearheading this in a positive way. My concerns, though, remain in that there's a separation of powers issue. And I just, like I said on the House floor last week, my inbox has exploded from physicians and health practitioners with these required trainings for their health licensures. And now we're going to do this for the judiciary. And I think it's a problem in that it kind of, I think the whole idea is biased because it's not education, it's training. It's not something that is expected that they already know. And I think that is biased in itself, because I know from law school, everyone of us who have gone through law school knows the intense cases that we've studied, everything from criminal law and murders to the intricacies of complex cases. I mean, to then assume that the judiciary can't function and can't rule on child custody cases and domestic violence cases without having a state indoctrination program is a concern. And again, I respect the need to be aware, but I don't see any guardrails unless I'm missing something. This will be a new state mandated training program in order to even fulfill a constitutional duty and a separation of powers issue. So I'm concerned for that reason. That's why I'll be voting no.
Delegate Fisher, Juanita Fisher.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. First, I want to really thank counsel of the committee and our chairman, Clippinger, for helping to make this a better bill and all the work that went in it to get into the posture that it is. It took a lot of patience and time. So I want to thank you, Mr. Chair, for your work in that way. And to the comments and concerns of my colleague, for Delegate Cox, I think, you know, when you look at what's being passed at the federal level in VAWA and what all different types of careers have different types of trainings, I don't think that this, especially with the amendments, will be a separation of powers issue, especially without the repeat training and the amendments that were made. In addition to that, I do think that judges are still going to have the skills, and it's really the skills that you need to make good decisions in these cases. And they're going to hear from both parties the full amount of what's going on in that case and discussion of what's in the best interest of that individual child. I think it's really a far reach to say that training or 20 hours will totally manipulate or take or make a bias of a judge who's taken an oath to be impartial. All I know is I've been on these Zoom calls with all of you lovely colleagues for more than 20 hours, and some of my opinions have been refined and some have been unchanged. Doesn't matter what is said, right? So we have our life experience, and I think all of us have done way more than 20 hours in our committee alone to have a sense of the kind of time that we're really actually talking about. So with that, Mr. Chair, I would ask for a favorable consideration of my colleagues. And again, thank you for all the work that you personally did on this bill, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and we'll do a roll call, seeing no further requests to speak. The Vice Chair.
Yes.
Shoemaker.
Yes.
Anderson.
No.
Erican.
Yes.
Bartlett.
Yes.
Hardin.
Mr. Chair, to explain my vote, I'm going to vote no, and I'm going to
Can't.
my that student of the Ways and Means Committee, I can hear some. We have grew up in a
Delegate Conway, I'm sorry, wait a minute.
groups
Delegate
what
Hardin,
the curriculum
Delegate
should be
Hardin,
is
Hardin.
inappropriate for the legislature, and for that reason,
Delegate Cardin,
Can you hear me?
I heard your no
I
vote.
apologize.
That's all right. Everything else was not easy to understand. So I understand that you're voting no.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. I just want to thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to very quickly say that I don't believe we should be dictating curriculum. I completely understand and agree with the concept of the bill. I just think we should require the training and then let them determine the curriculum. But because we're not doing that, I'm going to thank you.
Thank you. Delegate Conaway,
Yes.
Delegate Cox,
No, and just to reassert, we're talking about removing children from homes and the bias that this, the number one largest group of people who are impacted by removal of children is the minority communities. And to create a bias that imbues the judiciary with this pressure to, that they're going to be reported to the, at least unless it's been changed, they're going to be reported to Judicial Disabilities Commission.
that's not there.
It's been taken out?
Yes.
Okay. So, but I still think it is a dangerous precedent for that reason. So I'll be voting no. I vote no.
Delegate Crutchfield,
Yes.
Delegate Davis,
Yes.
Delegate Wanika Fisher,
Yes.
Delegate Grammer. Let's see here. All right, I know he's been ill, so he's excused. Delegate Howell,
Yes.
Delegate Rachel Jones, Delegate Jones.
Can you hear me? It seems like there's a delay with my internet. I said yes.
Okay. Lopez,
Yes.
Comus,
Yes, just one little statement. Instead of training, I would maybe say that the title should be just awareness for the judges, because knowledge is power, and I think they'll make better decisions the more knowledge they have. That's all I say, but an absolute yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Shetty,
Yes.
Cham,
Yes.
thank you, Tolles,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
All right. Chair sees 17 in favor and 3 opposed. So that motion passes. Now on to Senate Bill 17. This is now, again, reflects the changes that were made to the bill. I will say again for Delegate Cox, and I normally wouldn't have necessarily intervened in the middle of the roll call, but yes, the judicial disabilities portion is taken out, and yes, the parts are taken out that say that they can't hear cases in the area until they receive the training. So those which I think were the most constitutionally suspect, I think I believe
I didn't get
taken out.
if you could
Delegate
just-
Lopez, you're not, or I'm sorry, Delegate, there we go. We'll get there one of these days. Delegate Lopez, you were fine. Anyway. So we have the amendments now to conform the Senate bill. Could I have a motion on the amendments?
Move the amendments.
Is there a
Second.
second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. I think we've had discussion on them. All in favor of those conforming amendments, please raise your hands. Delegates Bartlett, Cox, McComas, Davis, Crutchfield, Lopez, Moon, Tolles, Jones, Erican, Shetty, Munoz, Williams, Shoemaker, Cardin, Cham, and Howell. Anybody opposed? Seeing none. The amendments are adopted. We're now on the bill as
Move
amended.
favorable.
Motion for favorable. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Is there anyone who wants to have further discussion? All right, we'll do a roll call. The Vice Chair,
Yes.
Shoemaker,
Yes.
Anderson,
No.
Erican,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Cardin.
Yes, no, Your Honor, and
No.
no, Mr. Chairman, and just to explain again, for the same reasons, I love the concept and no disrespect. I think it's a good idea. I just think that we shouldn't be dictating the specific curriculum, so I'm going to say no.
Delegate Conaway,
Yes.
Cox,
No.
Crutchfield,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Wanika Fisher,
Yes.
Grammer is excused, Howell,
Yes.
Rachel Jones,
Yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
McComas,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Shetty.
Sorry, my mouse froze. Yes.
Cham,
Yes.
Bowles,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
17. Okay, moving on. All right, two bills now. House Bill 290, Senate Bill 71. The Senate sent over delegate, well, we didn't vote Delegate Crutchfield's bill before crossover. And in part, it was because of the way, actually, maybe we should look at Senate Bill 71 first. Let's look at Senate Bill 71 first. Because of the way JPR amended the bill and added language from a case that has to do with the nuisances in Senate Bill 71. It says in Senate Bill 71 now, a person can bring a civil action against a person who commits an act that would constitute a violation of the subtitle, in other words, a hate crime, in a court of competent jurisdiction if a person is a victim of the act and suffered harm from the act of a kind different from the harm suffered by a person within the class protected under this subtitle who is a victim of the same act. This was language that was taken from a case related to nuisance claims, which, and Delegate Crutchfield, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think really goes to what the purpose of the bill was here. I think the purpose of the bill was to provide a civil remedy in cases related to hate crimes, not related to nuisance.
That is correct. They took a section of tort law because they wanted a clearer understanding of who has standing within this. And that's what they thought would clarify it, was to use this particular language from a public nuisance standard, really, is what it is. So you're absolutely correct.
I think that it
confuses more than anything, I believe, especially the second part.
You're very
We're talking
kind.
about suffering an act of a kind different from the harm suffered by a person within the class protected. I mean, it could be same people. It could be any number of things.
Yeah, it's you're very kind, Delegate Crutchfield. Yeah, it's not clear at all, and I think kind of runs counter to the purpose of the bill. So I believe that there is an amendment that would be offered to Senate Bill 71. Do we have that, Holly?
Yes, it's in their packet.
Okay.
I can
And
give
so
you the number.
the amendment does two things. It strikes the language that they added that is in Senate Bill 71 in A2 that talks about suffered harm from the act of a kind, blah, 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 blah. And it also makes a change to the damages portion, I believe, where
Yes.
what the Senate did. So, well, actually, we say equal.
It had equal, and the Senate amended it to say up, and the amendment that we are putting puts it back into conforming language for the original House Bill 290. So it's now going to say equal again.
So my suspicion is that we're heading for a conference committee on these bills anyway. So I'm just saying. So it changes that in the damages section, but it strikes the unbelievably confusing language, or at least reasonably confusing language that they added. This is amendment 253920 is this amendment. Are there questions? Well, let's have a motion on the amendment first.
Move the amendment.
Motion for the
Second.
amendment in a second. All right. Is there discussion on the amendment? All right.
What page in the packet is the amendment located?
Oh, that would be 17, I believe. All right, seeing no discussion, we will vote on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment, please raise your hands. That's Bartlett, Crutchfield, Davis, Lopez, Moon, Tolles, Jones, Shetty, Munoz, Williams, Howell, Shoemaker, Cham, Carden, Cox, Tolles. I've got everybody, I think. Anybody opposed? Seeing none, okay. We're on the bill as amended. Is there a motion? Is
Move favorable.
there a second?
Second.
All right. All right. Motion for a favorable and a second on Senate Bill 71 as amended. Is there discussion on the bill as amended? Seeing none, the vice chair,
Yes.
Shoemaker,
No.
Anderson,
Yes.
Erican,
No.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Carden,
Yes.
Conaway,
Yes.
Cox.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, I just got kicked out and brought back in. Can you pass and let me come back?
Yes, I just noticed that you did. This is Senate Bill 71. Crutchfield,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Juanita Fisher. Juanita Fisher. Okay, we'll come back. Delegate Howell.
Yeah.
Rachel Jones,
Yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
Thomas,
No.
Munoz,
Yes.
Shetty,
Yes.
Cham,
Yes.
Tolles.
Couldn't get off mute, sorry, yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Juanita Fisher. Okay, Cox,
Yes.
motion passes with 16. So now, House Bill 290, we're conforming it into the same position as we just passed Senate Bill 71. Could I have a motion on the amendments that would
Move the
conform?
amendments.
Is there a
So,
second?
Chair, there's no amendments to 290. It's just a clean.
Oh, right,
favorable.
this is just clean. Okay, that's right. This is straight favorable
Move
because
favorable.
I'll get it right one of these days.
Second.
All right, motion is second. That's fine. Any discussion on this? Probably not. The vice chair,
Yes.
Shoemaker,
No.
Anderson,
Yes.
Erican,
No.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Carden,
Yes.
Conaway,
Yes.
Cox,
Yes.
Crutchfield,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Juanita Fisher. Okay. Howell,
Yes.
Rachel Jones,
Yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
McComas,
No.
Munoz,
Yes.
Shetty,
Yes.
Cham,
I'm sorry, what bill are we, Mr. Chairman? I'm looking at my paper here.
290, 290.
290.
Yeah,
I'm a no on that.
okay. Tolles,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
All right, I see 16. I see 15, I'm sorry, 15. Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I apologize. I looked at my paper incorrectly. I'm a yes on that one.
Okay, you are a yes.
290, right?
Yes.
Senate Bill 290. Yes,
All
sir.
right, that's
Thank
fine.
you.
You were a yes on the last one, so that's why. I
Yes,
paused a little bit.
yes, thank you.
Cheeky switching, okay, that's fine. All right, so that one's done. Now, another set of two. Amendments, 643420. The Senate pretty heavily amended House Bill 580, well, what would be, well, it's really Senate Bill 357 that they sent over to us. We're changing it a little bit and sending it back. It's got a, this is the one with a 1-year task force, I think, if I'm not mistaken. This is making this a 1-year task force. And as such, we're trying not to include legislators in them because it's very challenging to get legislators to do them in an election year for some reason. And so we want the work to continue the workforce, but a work group, but we don't need the We don't necessarily need the legislators here to do it. So the amendments would reflect the Senate amendments to the bill, basically turning it into a work group. All we're doing is removing the legislators from the work group. So let's start
Move
with.
the amendments.
All right,
Second.
we'll do the amendments to 589. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor of the amendments, please raise your hands. Delegate Lopez, Moon, Davis, McComas, Shetty, Bartlett, Crutchfield, Munoz, Cham, Shoemaker, Howell, Carden, Tolles, Williams, Cox, and Jones. All right, anybody opposed?
Move favorable.
All right, the amendments are adopted. We're moving favorable, and there's a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none. The vice chair,
Yes.
Shoemaker,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Eric Can,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Carden,
Yes.
Conaway,
Yes.
Cox,
Yes.
Crutchfield,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Juanita Fisher. Grammar is excused. Howell,
Yes.
Rachel Jones,
Yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
McComas. McComas, you're muted.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Shetty,
Yes.
Cham,
Yes.
Tolles,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
All right, that's 19. Is there any objection to making the vote on House Bill 85? Well, we need to adopt amendments to 357, so let's just go
Move
ahead.
the other amendments.
Move the other amendments. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor of those amendments, raise your hands. Lopez, Davis, McComas, Shetty, Bartlett, Jones, Crutchfield, Munoz, Cham, Shoemaker, Howell, Carden, Tolles, Williams, and Cox. Anybody opposed to adopting those amendments? Seeing
Move favorable.
the amendments are adopted. There's a motion for favorable. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Okie dokie. Any objection to making the vote that you cast on 589, which was a unanimous 19-0, the same vote as you cast for Senate Bill 357?
That's fine.
Anybody object? So ordered. So we'll cast the same votes that you cast for 589, and we will move on steadily, slowly even, as I wear out my pen anyway. Okay. I'm going to skip a couple here because we have 4 bills. Oh yeah, we need to hold that one. We have 4 bills that are jointly assigned that I'd kind of like to get through because we're slowing down traffic in other committees apparently, not just here. So I'm going to start with House Bill 340. 340 is, and we have the Senate companion bill. There are amendments to both. Holly, can you tell us what the amendments do, please?
Sure. So I'll go over the bill first. The House Bill 340, Senate Bill 15, they do exactly the same thing and probably can just vote them together because House Bill 34, the technical changes conform it to the Senate bill. So the bill extends the statute of limitations for election law offenses from 3 to 4 years, prohibits an individual who has unpaid civil penalties for election law violations from becoming a candidate, being nominated, or taking office, increases the maximum civil penalty that the state board may impose for election law violations from $500 to $1,000, increases penalties for government contractors who fail to file reports of contributions, increases penalties for persons employing a lobbyist who fail to file reports of contributions. The amendments are technical and then reduce the maximum civil penalty that may be imposed for a violation of Title 14 from $10,000 to $5,000. And that's all that Ways and Means did in the amendment.
let's take a motion on the amendments and then I see hands. So can I have a motion on the amendments?
The amendments.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, great. That's fine. Now we'll go into discussion. Delegate Erican, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Holly, I just want to make sure I understand. When I read the bill, it looked like it was putting a 4-year statute of limitation on it, and the amendments changed that to 3-year, or?
The other way around.
Okay.
Nope, so the bill extends from 3 to 4 years. It originally does that. The only amendment that was placed on the bill reduces the civil penalty, the maximum civil penalty that can be, the state prosecutor can impose from 10 to 5,000. And I think it's on page 7 of the actual bill.
Okay, let me just see it. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that the 4 years is not lowering it. So
No,
the 3 years is not in the actual bill. The language is not here. I don't see it at least. So okay, I see. Okay, I see what you're talking about now. All right, thank you.
Delegate Carden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mine's actually on the bill, so I'll move the amendments.
Helps not to be muted. All right. Any further discussion on the amendments? Delegate Bartlett.
Just a quick understanding on the amendment on page 5 after line 20, where we're inserting, I'm a little bit confused because, okay, I got it. I think I just got it. So it was the state prosecutor may double the penalty to an amount not to exceed 1,000. Is that current language?
Yes, that was already in the bill.
Okay, I get it now. Thank you.
Okay, so here we are. We have a motion and a second on the amendments. Here's what we'll do, because we're just basically conforming these two to look the same. We'll make the vote for the amendments in each of these. You're going to vote to amend to conform these two bills, basically, to look like each other. All in favor of the amendments that conform these two bills to look like each other, as Holly has just described, please raise your hands. Delegates Carden, Bartlett, Erican, Moon, Crutchfield, McComas, Davis, Lopez, Shetty, Munoz, Cham, Shoemaker, Howell, Tolles, Williams, Cox. Anybody opposed? And Fisher in favor and McComas in favor. Anybody opposed? Seeing none.
Move favorables.
We will move both favorable as amended. We'll go with 340, and does anybody object to my saying that the vote on 340 is the same as the vote on Senate Bill 15, because they will be the same? Nobody objects to that. That sounds nice. So let's go to Delegate Carden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just real quick. First of all, I think that the reason why the 3-year statute of limitations is not in the bill is because that would be already the general statute of limitations in law. And so you're just specifically pulling this out and making this different. Holly, quick question. The 5,000 is actually not for candidates. That would be for businesses. Is that correct?
Let me take a
Doing
look.
business with the state?
I think you are right, but hold on one second.
I think it's like businesses are doing business with the state that violate the campaign finance rules.
Yes.
They weren't allowed to be. Okay, I just want to make sure that was clear. It's not for so candidates can't get a $5,000 fine on a first-time violation for, taking money incorrectly and then returning it or something like that. That would be my, and then the last question is, if you have a violation against you that's been charged against you, and it is in litigation or it's in some sort of mediation, or you're trying to figure it out, does this bill prohibit you from seeking re-election because you have an outstanding fine that hasn't been fully vetted?
Nope. So Stan actually sent a clarifying point because that was an issue in their committee, and it's only prospective. So it won't impact, it's not going to, anything that happens after the bill passes. But
okay, that makes sense. But I'm talking about, let's just say for the sake of argument, pass the bill, and then in 4 years, I guess I'll use me as an example. We had an outstanding fine because we were late in filing our reports or something. So we have an outstanding fine of $250 on the books. And I say, no, that's wrong. It shouldn't be $250. It should be $200 or something like that. It was only for 2 days. It wasn't for 3 days. And we're in the middle of all this, and then the deadline comes up. Am I prohibited from filing for reelection because I have this outstanding bill, even though I'm trying to work it all out, and I have to get that paid before I can refile? Do we have any? I mean, I know this, I'm going into like ways and means type discussions, not judiciary type discussions, but.
Oh, I'm happy to check with Stan, but my guess is you would not be able to put your name on the ballot if you had a violation in your campaign or contribution filings.
Even if it's in litigation and you're not sure if, because it hasn't been finalized yet, there hasn't been a decision made, and therefore that's kind of the thing. That's the sort of the judiciary side of it is, we're basically making people guilty until you're guilty and you can't even prove yourself innocent. You're barred from running because you haven't finalized your litigation. I'm just putting that out there. I just want to
just pay the fine, man.
Okay. Would never happen to me, Delegate Anderson. So.
Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just going to say to that worry, I would assume your other alternative is to pay the fine and seek a refund should you succeed in your right. If you don't want to be barred from the ballot, you're not without recourse. And generally, we're talking about a capped out amount. So it's not like, you could be in for $200,000, some bond worthy amount. So I think it's fine.
Any further? Delegate McComas is raising her actual hand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just kind of like wondering if this is really a problem. I mean, one, to change the statute of limitations is always significant. And two, to have the effective date, July 22nd, 22, is like incredible because we're already in that situation. And so most people that have filed may have not known that this was going to come up. And I just sort of think that we've got once again, the cart before the horse. And I just think that it's exceedingly punitive, and it's going to basically only going to have the rich elite running for office because they're going to, read that and think, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. And there's a lot of downside to this if they get something wrong. So I got a problem with this. I just don't think we need it. There's enough there that you worry, central committees, just lay people that, they're the treasurer for their friend's campaign. I mean, I just think it's really closing people that are going to run for office. And quite honestly, it'll remove good people from running for office. I think it's a bad bill.
Delegate Cox.
So forgive me, I'm trying to understand the new penalties in the bill, Mr. Chairman, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the bill as it's written now says that if you fail to pay a $250 fine, and then you file for office, if you don't know that you owed the fine, and you get a civil citation, if you're alleged to have known about it, then you're facing $25,000 and a 1 year in jail. Is that how this works?
Holly.
I'm checking with Stan on some of this, so just I can check. I don't think that is the case, but let me check on that one. To go back to Delegate Cardin, Stan has said only if the fine has become final would you be barred entirely from running, nominated, or taking office. So that clarifies yours. And then Delegate Cox, I'll ask him about your issue.
I'm trying to get to the bottom of what this new because it's been changed from $1,000 civil fine to a $25,000 misdemeanor with a 1 year in jail. And that's like, wow, what is that all about? And the second part of my question, while you're looking into that, is there any timeline for this, for notice? In other words, the Board of Elections decides to, fine somebody. They tell them, 3 days before the filing deadline, and there's no notice. What happens then? Because there's nothing in the bill that requires notice that I can see.
Is it silly to say that notice is when you get the fine? I mean, why do you need to know a secondary notice?
So, I mean, in theory, sure, but you if you get fined 3 days before the filing deadline, you're not going to get your mail within 3 days. The mailbox rule may not, the U.S. mail may not deliver that fine. Looks like a trap that you could unintentionally fall into.
But 3 days before, you wouldn't be at the final version of paying that fine. It would just be pending at that point if you were actually fined 3 days before filing.
Yeah,
Sorry, Holly, not to step on your
that's
toes.
exactly right. So that's correct. Until it's actually final, you can still be nominated and take, office. It has to actually be a final resolution and decision. And then Stan is getting back to the other penalty provision you were worried about, Delegate Cox.
So it says has an unpaid civil penalty. I don't know what you mean by final, but if they've issued a penalty, are you talking about the appeal process that you might have? And so you have a right to appeal that. So as long as you haven't lost your appeal right, you can still file. That seems a little convoluted. But I'm just concerned about, let's say you 3 days before a filing deadline, you get out of the blue, you get a fine alleged, and it could upend your entire effort. I mean, somebody could be really held captive to bureaucracy. And like Delegate McComas was saying, this is, if you've got a lot of cash laying around, you can, not have any issues. But if you're one of the people, and then the other aspect is, why the heck did it go from $1,000 civil fine to a $25,000 fine with a misdemeanor 1 year in jail? And what does that have to do with this? I'm
So
lost
Delegate
on that.
Cox, Stan right now says so the standard you're looking at, he says the standard criminal penalty for campaign finance violations, that is the standard campaign violation. That was already in the language, and that is statute. He says he's never heard of the maximum penalty ever being imposed, but it is there, and that is the standard.
But what would it be done for in this particular setting? It's been added to this bill, so how would that apply here?
For a campaign finance violation.
If it's already in the law, I'm just not sure why it's being added.
I
into
think
this.
for clarity, I think it's one of the technical changes, just for clarity purposes, to put it in the code in the same section.
It says that if you fail to comply with this new law that's being passed, if you didn't knowingly do it, then you're under $1,000 civil fine. If you are alleged to have knowingly not complied with this new law, then you're under a $25,000 criminal charge. And that's what I'm not following. What is the knowing act or the willful failure to act? Is it the failure to pay a fine?
I read it as it's a failure to resolve the underlying fine, Delegate Cox. That's how I read it. And your previous question about if you had a tie, understand your competitive race, there's an allegation, it's 3 days before. Usually you have like up to like 30 days to pay, and I'm stepping on Holly's toes, a certain amount of time to pay. So you'd be fine then. You'd have the window to pay, or you can actually put the paperwork to actually have a court case, like to have it appealed and presented to you as to why you were getting these infractions within your campaign. So that's how I read it.
Yep, that is what Stan said. It's up to those amounts. It's the standard penalty for a campaign finance violation.
So you get fined for a violation, and then you can't pay your fine, and then you could get fined to $25,000 for failing to pay your fine, and then you could go to jail for a year. That sounds, so it's really not a civil penalty anymore. It could easily turn into a misdemeanor.
Yeah.
Anyway, so for that reason, I'm with Delegate McComas on this one. This is a wowzer, and it's been seemingly not vetted enough, it seems to me, so I would be cautious here.
Delegate Erican.
Thanks. So I just want to make sure that I understand, the existing penalty is already that 1 year and $25,000. But what the election board usually does is sort of these little incremental, is this how it usually works, Holly? These little incremental, if you don't pay the first $500 fine or whatever, it goes up from there every, day after the 30 days.
Yes, and then just for clarity too, the civil penalty is for unknowing violations. Criminal penalty is going to be for knowingly violating. So that's that difference too, in terms of the penalty provisions. If you're knowingly committing the campaign violation or unknowingly. So just for clarity purposes, because I do have Stan on the line.
Okay. Did we get an estimate on like how much this would change violations, money coming in to the Board of Elections, anything like that? Did we get any fiscal estimates on changes or no? I guess maybe Holly wouldn't probably know that part, but
No, I'm checking though.
let's see.
It doesn't appear that it's impacted.
Okay. Okay, so really all it does is allows for slightly higher penalties potentially. What does it do then? If it's already in there, that it's 1 year and $25K, then what does the bill really do? Besides restate that. Am I missing something?
I can go back over all the changes that were in the original bill's language. Hold on.
Need a 4-year statute of limitations.
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Right.
So all those 5 or 6 things, let me bring that back up.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's
But,
fine.
Yeah. So the statute of limitations, 3 to 4, prohibiting an individual who has unpaid civil penalties from becoming a candidate, increasing maximum from 5 to 1,000, and that's for the civil penalties, the unknowing violation, and then it's again final decisions only. And then it has also the government contractors and the lobbyist filing contribution penalties.
Okay, and then the 1 year and 25 is for only like essentially fraud, knowingly violating our campaign finance laws.
Yes.
Okay, that I think I'm comfortable with that. Thanks.
Vice Chair, anything further?
Yeah, thank you. Sorry. I normally I'm skeptical of random penalty enhancements, but I just want to clarify here. The penalties in this law refer to the title, and it's the campaign finance section. And I'm just flipping through, looking at kinds of things in here. Failure to maintain a campaign bank account, making a disbursement that's not authorized, fundraising during the session, failure to report all of your contributions or expenditures. I mean, this is stuff that borders on and facilitates corruption. And so I think on the higher end of it, it is warranted.
And I'll add to Vice Chairs that according to Ways and Means, this fine structure set out in COMAR. So just like Delegate Erican said, the fines start small, and as you repeatedly violate, they go up. But the first offenses are not changed. It's just if you are found to be a repeat violator. And then just to, follow up on that, he also said that the civil penalties are consistent with the fine amounts for filing late campaign finance reports.
Okay. All right. I believe we conformed the bills to each other already. So now I'm just going to take them one at a time. We'll do House Bill 340. We'll do House Bill 340. We've had extensive discussion. We'll go to a roll call on House Bill 340, unless there's anything else anybody wants to say. I think that we were, let's just make sure. Can I have a motion on House Bill 340?
Move favorable.
Move favorable. Second.
All right, fine. So here we are. We've had lots of discussion. Seeing no further discussion, go to the Vice Chair.
Yes.
Shoemaker,
No.
Anderson,
Yes.
Arakan,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Scary, but yes.
Carden,
Yes.
Conaway,
Yes.
Cox,
For the people, no.
Crutchfield,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Lanika Fisher,
Yes.
Grammer is excused. Howell,
Yes.
Rachel Jones. Rachel Jones. You're muted.
Yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
McComas,
No.
Munoz,
Yes.
Shetty,
Yes.
Cham,
Yes.
Tolles,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
C-17. Is there any objection for the vote for House Bill 340 being made the same vote for Senate Bill 15? Any objection? Seeing none, those votes will be moved over to Senate Bill 15. Okay, let's go now to Claire and Senate Bill 12. Senate Bill 12 has amendments that I believe conform it to what we already passed. But Claire will tell me how many different ways I'm wrong there, please. Claire, go ahead. Unless I lost Claire.
No, sorry. Sometimes I have trouble unmuting. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so this conforms the bill where Senate Bill 15 now looks like the bill that we passed on
The amendments.
this subject. There's a motion for the amendments. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we're any discussion on the conforming amendments? Delegate Shoemaker? No.
Not on the amendment, on the
Okay.
bill, as
You're-
amended.
All right. All in favor of the conforming amendments, please raise your hand. Moon, Bartlett, Lopez, Davis, Crutchfield, Shoemaker, Cham, Shetty, Jones, Howell, Williams, Tolles, Fisher, Anderson. Anybody opposed on the conforming amendment? McComas is a yes. Anybody opposed? Seeing none, we're on the bill as amended.
Favorable.
Motion for favorable. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion at all on this? So we are
Mr.
second
Chairman.
to HGO. Delegate Shoemaker, please.
Yes, very briefly, can somebody refresh our recollection in 20 words or less what this does?
Claire?
It requires the Department of Health, when awarding grants from the Behavioral Health Crisis Response Grant Program, which already exists, to require that proposals include response standards that prioritize mobile crisis units over law enforcement when responding to individuals in crisis.
Now I remember. Okay, thank you.
Those who might want to ask, the HGO vote was 16-7. So it was moved and seconded. Any further discussion on Senate Bill 12? Favorable with amendment, the vice chair.
Yes.
Shoemaker,
No.
Anderson,
Yes.
Arakan,
No.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Carden,
Yes.
Conaway,
Yes.
Cox,
No.
Crutchfield,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Juanika Fisher,
Oh, yes.
Howell,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
McComas,
No.
Munoz,
No.
Shetty,
Yes.
Cham,
No.
Tolles,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Oh, really? That's why. Okay, 14. So that moves on. Senate Bill 331.
Favorable.
Yeah, this is a straight favorable. It passed HGO 22 to nothing, and I believe it repeals the sunset for providing support for people who have been the victims of rape. It provides support in making sure or providing assistance to ensure that they are not infected with HIV. Think I got that right?
Move
Claire?
favorable.
All right, there's a motion for
Second.
favorable. Is there a second?
Second.
Got it. All right. Any further discussion on Senate Bill 331? It's in the same posture as a bill we passed earlier this year. Delegate Bartlett.
Mr. Chair, I will be voting favorable. Did we vote out the House bill unanimously out of the committee? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay, well, I will be voting favorable because some of these victims, I have to say, I asked last year, during the testimony, and I asked this year, there are victims as young as 6 weeks old who can benefit from this program. So I will definitely be voting favorable.
Okay. Questions or any further comments? It was unanimous that when it came out of Judiciary.
Okay, then you can just throw away that speech I just made.
I thought it was a very nice speech.
It was.
It was well worth it. We're all, that's.
Move to journalize the speech, Mr. Chair.
How many more hours are left of this? All right, so let's move on. We'll go on to the roll call. The Vice Chair,
Yes.
Shoemaker,
Yes.
Anderson,
That speech was a bit verbose, but yes.
Erican,
Yes.
Bartlett.
Yes, I have to explain my vote. No, I'm just joking.
I swear to God.
You already did.
I know, I was joking.
Arden,
Yes.
Conaway,
Yes.
Cox,
Yes.
Crutchfield,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Juanita Fisher,
Yes.
Howell,
Yes.
Rachel Jones,
Yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
McComas,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Shetty,
Yes.
Cham,
Yes.
Tolles,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
That's 20. All right, Senate Bill 788. There are amendments.
Move the amendments.
Motion for the amendments. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, here a motion in a second.
Second.
I think it puts it in the same posture as to what we passed, correct?
Yes.
All right, and the HGO vote was 22 to nothing. How about that? Meanwhile, here in Judiciary, let's see what happens next. So all in favor of the amendments, the conforming amendments, please raise your hands. Delegates Bartlett, Moon, Cox, Crutchfield, McComas, Davis, Lopez, Cardin, Jones, Chetty, Munoz, Cham, Shoemaker, Fisher, Anderson, Tolles, Williams, and Howell. Anybody opposed? Seeing none.
Move
The
favorable.
bill is amended. There's a motion for favorable. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Okie dokie. The Vice Chair,
Yes.
Shoemaker,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Erican,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Cardin,
Yes.
Conaway,
Yes.
Cox,
Yes.
Crutchfield,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Juanita Fisher,
Yes.
Howell,
Yes.
Rachel Jones,
Yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
McComas,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Shetty,
Yes.
Cham,
Yes.
Tolles,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
All right, that's 20. Okay, moving on. Now I'm going to flip back to the very first one that I skipped over initially, just because it keeps Dylan on his toes. 1448. This is a bill that I put in. I put in at the request of I believe it was the city of Baltimore and Mako. And it addresses the issue related to concurrent civil jurisdiction, because there's been a recent case. I think that would take all violations for an ordinance and require that they all go to district court, as opposed to being handled administratively before they go to district court. Let's make sure that I'm mostly right with that.
Nope, that's correct, Chair.
Okay.
And the case is Angel Enterprise versus Talbot County.
Right. So the idea here is that it starts with the administrative, effectively at the administrative level, then goes to district court, and then goes on from there. So it gives them multiple bites at the apple, but it also clarifies what is effectively the existing system for violation of local ordinances. Delegate Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a question. Is this, so this only applies to the city of Baltimore? No other jurisdiction has this issue, maybe, or is this everyone? I'm
Now,
confused.
this is a statewide bill. This is
It's
not
statewide. Why does it say? Okay.
by a county or the mayor and city council of Baltimore.
Oh, okay.
It's both, because obviously, yeah, we're not a county, but we're a jurisdiction, and yeah. If that makes sense.
It does. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry.
All right, Delegate Cardin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick, so if there's a violation and there's a hearing of some sort, can the party, either party choose to go directly to district court, or can the county then require them to go through the administrative process?
Holly?
So I think so. For example, Talbot County, several counties have their appeals processes. I think it depends on the county, but from what I understand, all decisions can be reviewed by a state court regardless. So if you were to go through the administrative agency, I think you could always just appeal it and go to the state court and bypass from what it looks like. And not all counties have an admin process, so then you would just go straight to the district court. But some do, and that was the issue with the ruling in the Angel versus Talbot County case.
I'm just making this time. I mean, look, I think it's probably a good bill, but let's just say, for the sake of argument, that you wanted to have it first be in the county system, because you know that if you delay or take a long time, that the other parties or the respondents are going to wind up their interests are going to wane, and they're going to wind up succumbing to whatever you need to, because you have the ability to slow things down and make it go through multiple processes. And the other party wants to just go directly to the district court and have one trial and be done. And can they do that? That's just my thought. I mean, I can understand why Mako wants this, and I want to support them, and I think it's probably good. I'm just wondering if we're having an unintended consequence.
But that's the point for concurrent jurisdiction, right? Because then, I mean, if they wanted to go to district court, they could go straight to district court. All this does, it says that, I think the problem that was demonstrated with the case is that they were saying they had to go to district court right away, as opposed to starting off through the local process and then ending up in district court. I think there's a difference between you have to go there first and you can go there first.
Well, that's exactly what I'm hoping, and that's why I'll support it if that's in fact the case. So thank you.
Yeah, I think, and again, Holly, if I'm getting that wrong, let me know.
No, that's correct. The holding was that you had to go to the district court, and it completely bypassed the Talbot County administrative agency, and then that was the issue.
Okay, Delegate Bartlett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I just want to make sure I understand with respect to the Ocean City case, where the 4 individuals were, or at least I'll talk about the one that's actually been adjudicated, where the one individual was charged with by a local ordinance vaping on the boardwalk. It later resulted into a full arrest because of things that later got thrown out and the arrest got dismissed. I mean, I'm not using the proper term there, but anyway, it just all got thrown out. But my question is, because it had a criminal component to it, it started in district court and he was able to, ask for it to go to circuit court. Would that benefit be removed if someone started at the local municipality level, the local level, and let's say they started at the local level, is the next, if they wanted to appeal whatever decision was at the local level, would that go to district court? And then from there, it would go to circuit court on the appeal, or could they appeal straight from the local to the circuit court?
My inclination, I don't know the answer to that question. And if you'd like it, we can hold on to it and get an answer to that question. I know Delegate Davis has a question as well. We can get the answer to that question, but I do think that's an important question. I just don't know the answer to it. So
Okay,
I'd be
thanks.
more inclined to hold it.
Thank
But
you.
Delegate Davis, what's your question? And then if there's another question, we can deal with that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I am not picking it up. What is the bill number again so I can read it?
1448.
1440.
And at this point, we'll come back to it tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
We'll come back to it tomorrow. If you have issues, if something else comes up, look, it's with respect to Mako and everybody else, it is a somewhat obscure Court of Appeals ruling that does seem to have a larger impact on local governments. And so that's why I put it in on their behalf, but it is maybe a little arcane. So let's just make sure we got all the facts straight and then we can go from there. Where are we now? Let's why not go to Senator Bidle's bill, which is a cross file of Delegate Bartlett's bill. And this is Senate Bill 97. It's in the same posture and it is exactly the same, I think, as Delegate Bartlett's bill.
It's all everything's the same, I believe.
Yes,
Yeah.
everything's the
Move
same.
favorable.
Motion for a favorable. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Delegate Erican.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Could somebody just explain again, what was the impetus of this bill?
Delegate Bartlett, you want to talk about it a little bit?
Sure. So, essentially, the everything was done by paper back in the day, and so if you didn't have your a certain amount of paper forms, blank paper forms, I know this is going to sound very archaic because it was, then you that was part of the law. You had to have a certain stack of these blank forms. You also had to have a bond, as a member of the court. You had to have a certain bond, and the comptroller's office has said that the bond that the comptroller has actually falls under the clerk. So they don't have to each have their own separate bond. In fact, they could be, I think their license could be held if they didn't have it. So now what we're stating is that the clerk of the court shall coordinate with the comptroller regarding the licenses regarding the bond, and also regarding those stack of form licenses. They do that through computer. It's an electronic, like, I guess, Adobe type document, and they can just fill that in, just like we do with a lot of our other electronic forms. Unfortunately, they had to come through the state to get that. Then there was some more language that we ended up taking out because they couldn't, the clerks and everyone, and the Secretary of State didn't come to an understanding on that. So as it stands, those are the things that are provided, the separate bond, and then those blank paper business licenses to make them electronic. And
So they're still bonded. They're just bonded under, they were already bonded under the comptroller, but we've been forcing them to get a secondary bond for no reason.
Exactly. Yep, exactly.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any further discussion? All right, seeing none. We have a motion and a second. We'll go to a roll call. The vice chair,
Yes.
Shoemaker,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Erican,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Carden,
Yes.
Conaway,
Yes.
Cox,
Yes.
Crutchfield,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Juanita Fisher,
Yes.
Howell,
Yes.
Rachel Jones,
Yes.
Lopez,
Yes.
McComas,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Shetty,
Yes.
Cham,
Yes.
Souls. Tolls. She's not on the screen. Williams.
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay, I see 20 then. All right. Great. Senator Heddleman's bill is 819. This requires the executive director for the governor's office of Crime Prevention, Youth and Victim Services to go through a Senate confirmation.
Sure, move favorable.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a second on the sure move favorable? All right, Delegate Erican.
Thanks. Could we just talk about what problem this is solving? We didn't have a house crossfile, did we?
There's not a House crossfile, no. It just says that the executive director should be treated the same way that other cabinet level of positions are sent to the Senate for confirmation.
So it's like expanding the governor's cabinet, because this isn't really a cabinet position. I mean, it's not like a secretary of something.
It's not really a secretary of something, but I think that the idea is that it handles a great deal of, they handle a lot of grants. They handle a lot of grants to local jurisdictions, and the thought is that level of oversight would be appropriate.
Did we have a problem with this before? I mean, was there an issue with who we had running GoCap?
Well, I mean, I guess there have been some questions recently related to the agency, but they've had a turnover just recently in the agency.
Okay.
So without, I don't necessarily mean to disparage, but at the same time, there were some questions raised, is my understanding. And I think that was part of the reason for Senator Heddleman bringing the bill.
Okay, thanks for the answers.
Okay. Delegate Fisher.
Mr. Chair, do you know the vote on the Senate side? I might have missed that when I got up.
Is it something to nothing? There are lots of Senate bills like that, though. That doesn't mean anything.
It was 45 to nothing in the Senate.
45 to nothing. Yeah. Are there further questions, discussion related to the bill? All right, we have a favorable motion and a second. We'll go to a roll call. The vice chair.
Yes.
And Shoemaker.
No.
Anderson.
Yeah, I remember when City beat Poly 45 to nothing. So yes.
Erican.
No.
Bartlett.
Yes.
Carden.
Yes.
The little indignities that keep me going. Conaway.
Conway, yes, I understand that Anderson didn't pay his debt on that game. Thank you.
Okay, this gets better all the time. Cox.
No.
Crutchfield.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Juanita Fisher.
Sorry, I lost track of my mouse. Yes.
Grammar is excused, right? Howell.
Yes.
Rachel Jones.
Yes.
Lopez.
Yes.
Thomas. No.
No.
Okay. Munoz.
No.
Shetty.
Yes.
Cham.
No.
Tolles.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Bill passes with 14. All right, I think we're down to one more, right? Probably one more, yes. So this is Senator McCrae's bill on warrants and absconding. I think the bill does two things. It clarifies the definition of absconding under the law and under the Justice Reinvestment Act. Absconding includes leaving an inpatient residential treatment facility that an individual was placed in under a court order for drug and alcohol treatment without the permission of the administrator, as defined under 8-101 of the Health General article. And in its second part, it addresses the funding, and this has been funded in the budget, for warrant apprehension efforts. And it allocates that funding, I think, based on the total number of warrants that are outstanding. I think that's what I read.
What is the bill?
No, I'm sorry, it provides grants for warrant apprehension. And they can use the grants to reduce warrants in the agency's jurisdiction, to increase coordination, cooperation between local law enforcement and state and federal agencies regarding outstanding warrants, and to reduce the number of outstanding warrants related to violent crimes. That is what the bill does. There are questions. So let's do this first. I think, yeah, it's a straight favorable. So there are no amendments. Could I have a motion?
Favorable.
This motion for a favorable. Is there a second?
I'll second Karen.
Okay, that's fine. Here we go. Questions, Delegate Erica.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. This bill sounds very similar to a Delegate Malone bill, a former Delegate Malone bill. Is this similar to that one?
He had so many.
He had one, I think, that was about this warrant apprehension and abscondment.
He did something on warrant apprehension, but I'm not sure it dealt specifically with setting up grant funding to support with warrant apprehension. It's not to say he never did. I just don't remember that specific thing.
Okay, thank you.
Right, Delegate Howell.
I just wanted to make sure, are we on Senate Bill 585?
We are Senate
Okay.
Bill 585, and there's a motion and a second. Any further questions? All right, we will go to a roll call. The Vice Chair.
Yes, and Mr. Chair, I just want to briefly say that on this question about treating fleeing from a drug treatment facility as absconding, I think this is part of a larger discussion that I hope will flesh out for how to handle this problem. And I know Judge Morrissey has legislation he's pushed on this, so I'm comfortable with this at the time, but I just want to flag big that we ought to dive into this. Thank you. So yes.
Yeah, I'll respond to that after we're done here, because yeah, there's something I want to say about that too. Shoemaker.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Erican.
Yes.
Bartlett.
Yes.
Cardin.
Yes.
Conaway.
Yes.
Cox.
Yes.
Crutchfield.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Juanita Fisher.
Yes.
Howell.
Yes.
Rachel Jones.
Yes.
Lopez. Lopez. Don't see Lopez. McComas.
Yes.
Munoz.
Yes.
Shetty.
Yes.
Cham.
Yes.
Poles.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Just again, Lopez. All right. It's still good with 2019. Okay, I think that's enough for right now. We will have more, to be sure. We will come back tomorrow. We have bill hearings tomorrow. We will probably have double sessions tomorrow. So we'll have bill hearings in between. I would expect a voting session either after our voting session, and I'm going to go back here in a second to talk about Senate Bill 585. But do our bill hearings. We'll try and have a voting session after the bill hearings, but before we go back to the floor. If we go back to the floor for a second time on Tuesday, we will come back after that if there are any bills that are outstanding, or we'll just play it by ear at that point. Very briefly on Senate Bill 585, I'll pile on with what the vice chair said. I think we have a larger conversation to build upon what we dealt with and the issues that we dealt with justice reinvestment in not this term, but the term before, and probably time to take another look at justice reinvestment and also take a look at some of the mental health and addiction services that we provide related to people who would be otherwise incarcerated. And so to that end, I think that we should start that conversation and that we will start that conversation. But for now, and with that editorial comment, thank you all very much. It's 4 o'clock and we will see